So I have finally seen Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and already it's my favourite movie of the year so far. I was floored by the experience and the director's take on Frank Herbert's seminal novel, so I'm not going to waste much time in this video and get straight into my spoiler-free review. But before I get into the reasons why I loved this movie so much, if you want to see much more videos on Dune leading up to its release date and after the film releases in the US, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into my spoiler-free review for Dune. It's been a long wait to see Dune finally come to the big screen, and after much delays and much anticipation, Denis Villeneuve's film does not disappoint. Dune is the movie that I was hoping it would be, adapting the material in an impressive way and taking its time to really address the details that previous adaptations haven't. Frank Herbert's book is beloved because of its impressive attention to detail, and this incarnation has the patience and resources to bring the source material into spectacular, jaw-dropping reality. The cast is tremendous, the themes are prominent and tackled perfectly, and every shot is transportive to such a level that you become mesmerised. It's exactly what an adaptation of the first half of Dune should be, and if we do in fact get a part 2, it will be all the better for it. The one problem I think that some people will have is that being based on only a fraction of the book, it could feel slightly incomplete and persuade a need to immediately watch part 2. But from my own personal perspective, I saw the ending of this movie as a perfect conclusion to the early story of Paul Atreides, and the questions that it leaves with us are ones that the whole movie explores and builds on to a satisfying degree. The ending, although very open, fits with the story told in this first part and gives a feeling of accomplishment of a quest while making the audience understand that nothing is finished and that we are far from there. It's an exceptional big screen experience and does a brilliant job at laying the foundation for what is a gigantic and unique universe. It's weird that I'm going to say this soon after watching Christopher Nolan's classic film at Leicester Square, but Dune is the first time I've been captivated in such a huge way by science fiction since 2014's Interstellar. Yes, there have been incredible films like those by Denis, such as Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, but Dune reminded me of Interstellar in the sense that the image, emotion, and scale of a film can really keep you along for the thrilling ride. If anything though, it reminded me more of the experience of Kubrick's 2001 in that all the elements of the film, whether the image, the sound, or even the themes, can really grab you in the perfect way cinema can. Not just through transporting you, but also through relating heavily to the world around us today. It's a hell of a spectacle, and there are many reasons why this is my favourite movie of the year so far. The complexity of the plot and the expansiveness of the world are the reasons Dune has been seen for decades as a book impossible to properly adapt, but Denis Villeneuve and his team have done so with their approach and have crafted an epic that is stunningly faithful in its depiction of events from the book and in its greater transcendent spirit. Now, there are scenes that are shifted around, minor details changed, and there are a few key characters seemingly put aside in anticipation of part 2, but the movie is extraordinary in its own ability to directly translate the source material across mediums. In fact, before watching the film, I was concerned that the story and ideas on display would come across as confusing or limited in its adaptation, but to my surprise, this is a film that is very simple to follow, and anyone can be transported or follow the plot the way it is told. One of the great challenges in the adaptation process was also the battle between scope and pacing. By showcasing the scale of the universe and its intricacies, you can really hurt the movement of the story. But Denis and his co-writers keep it constantly moving without any sacrifices. This is by far the quickest of Villeneuve's movies, and its editing doesn't relate as much to a film like Blade Runner 2049. Yes, the scope and gorgeous cinematography is still there in that film, but the portrayal of the story and characters here is much more relentless. The layering of characters and plot work in harmony as you are simultaneously drawn in by the political intrigue. And as far as the characters go, it also certainly helps that Dune's cast is both loaded with extreme talent and is perfectly put together, with everyone getting to the core of who they are playing, even if they have limited screen time. Timothée Chalamet's Paul is restrained by the weight of his greater destiny, written with a lot of subtlety, complexity, and emotion. Everything is done, including the acting, so that the audience understands and sympathises with this affectionate teenager, still immature and lacking in self-confidence, who is aware he must grow up and try to live up to his position as heir to the Duke. Rebecca Ferguson's Lady Jessica is also emotionally torn in her loyalties, and we witness the mysterious aura of her Bene Gesserit order. Alternately self-confident, emotional, and strong, she is a complex character that is still a little mysterious, but terribly human and understandable. Oscar Isaac's Duke Leto is further impressive in his nobility, Jason Momoa is subtle and powerful as the warrior Duncan Idaho, and Stellan Skarsgård's Baron Harkonnen is fittingly grotesque and horrifying, much like the Harkonnens in general. Both Javier Bardem and Zendaya deliver great performances too as determined characters, even though we won't see Stilgar and Chani as much until a part 2. Truly, there are no bad performers among the cast here, giving us portrayals that are taken seriously, and this only helps to develop the things on display in this first film. All the characters serve their purpose, and the ones that revolve around the Atreides are especially well written. Each has their own personality, function, and relationship to other characters, and the acting combined with the writing allows the audience to become attached to these various characters, to understand them, to have empathy for them, and to fear for their lives. This is all on display through a very well written story in which the director takes the time to set the scene, introduce the universe, and put the characters in their comfort zone before launching the plot. This time given to the exposure of the world and the characters allows the audience to understand the issues at hand, to know the different relationships and what is going on in the minds of the characters, mainly that of Paul's. The film builds a palpable but subtle tension throughout its first act, which leads us to the mid-film climax, and the pace doesn't slow down after that. This is because it dynamically alternates action scenes with more poised ones. The action is present and well paced without being too enforced, and does not overwhelm the audience with endless sequences without emotion. All while doing this, it is understandable for everyone, and it takes the time to present the different political factions and the issues while maintaining the mystery. But as intricate as Dune is, and as many characters as there are, it's made simple to fall into the world simply because of its magnificence. This is in no way surprising given what we've previously seen from Denis Villeneuve as a director, but that doesn't undermine its amazing success. It's not an overly complicated futuristic universe, as the sci-fi aesthetic is made to be grounded and familiar, but all the same you feel like you're looking into a period across space and time, and it's outstandingly thrilling. The cinematography, the production design, and the genius visual effects blend in such a way that the line between fiction and reality disappears from your mind, and it's breathtaking. It gives you the purest sense of cinema, as every department on the film has delivered work that aims to sweep the audience away, and it does so in incredible fashion. Visually, no special element of the source material is left unexplored, from the beautifully designed still suits to the dragonfly vehicles known as ornithopters, to the godlike sandworms that live below the surface of Arrakis. Dune is also an auditory experience, not only building its world through sound editing, but a film that presents us with one of the best scores that Hans Zimmer has ever composed. The sound does not have a musical function it often has in films. It is a real effect to immerse the viewer in the universe, underlining an action, a noise, and so on. The rumblings, tremors, and pulses make the world of Dune alive, and these are the kind of details that expand the universe. It reminds me of how Zimmer used ticking or raindrops in the mounting score from Interstellar to really connect you to a sense of diminishing time, while also reversely linking this to how natural it is in a monumentally sized universe that is beyond our imagination. Zimmer is constantly using notes or sounds that familiarise you with the world and what is going on. These elements just show how much collaboration and effort went into this to bring the complete cinematic experience. Overall, Dune by Denis Villeneuve is an exceptional film. Now, you know that I was excited for the movie, but I didn't expect it to be this good. It is rare to succeed in combining the visual, the sound, and the storyline without it being to the detriment of one of those elements. It's also complicated to make an adaptation of a book that satisfies both readers and non-readers. Non-readers will not understand everything 100%, but the film gives them enough to understand most of what it is saying. The rest can remain a mystery, understandable after a second viewing, or when part 2 hopefully releases. After all, when the first Star Wars came out, not everyone fully understood what things like the Jedi, the Force, or even who the Emperor was, but that didn't stop us from enjoying the adventure. Dune is intended to be more political, more immersive, and the audience has a lot more information and explanations. Dune is a real science fiction journey and a story of tragedy, all brought to the screen as a perfect example of merging art with the blockbuster. It's an immersive film affecting the human soul through imagery, sound, and narrative meaning, one which must be seen on the biggest screen possible. But that was my spoiler-free review for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Thrilling, stunning, and ambitious, Dune is defined as being a part 1, and just by its nature, it doesn't provide conclusions for its biggest character arcs and themes. But for the directing that this part 1 takes and ends up at, it is a perfect ending for the first half of the book, in the sense that Paul Atreides is becoming something that he once feared. It's certainly an experience that must not be missed, but it's also undeniable that it will require revisiting when the rest of the director's vision is complete. Until that time comes, Dune Part 1 is a cinematic accomplishment to be marvelled at, the interpretation of the source material that fans have been waiting to see for a very long time, and a film that should be experienced on the biggest screens multiple times. This is both to experience it the way it is meant to be seen, and to establish that the epic story can continue. I'm giving Dune a rating of 9.25 out of 10. But to those who have already seen the film, what do you think of Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and do you agree that it's one of the best films of the year so far? I think it's the best we have seen so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got loads of Oscar nominations, especially in categories like direction, cinematography, production design, and so on. Again, it's all subjective, and I appreciate a range of reactions and reviews, so let me know down below in the comment section what you personally thought towards the film, alongside things that stood out with your first impressions. For lots more videos surrounding Dune during its release, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.